Episode 2 of Star Trek Picard Season 3 has beamed down. This week we're focusing on Ed Speleer's character, who is Doctor Beverly Crusher's son. It was a big revelation last week, so we want to see how this pans out. Picard Season 3 Episode 1 has met some great feedback online, with lots of people celebrating the return of Stahl and its many callbacks to the next generation. This week also marks the introduction of our villain, Captain Varic, played by Amanda Plummer. From what we know, she is the main villain of Star Trek Picard Season 3. However, this episode marks her introduction to Star Trek and us as viewers. Therefore, in the ranks of villains, we have to see how she holds up, especially as Varic has been previously described as this Khan-level star villain. Spoiler warning, this is our full in-depth review of Star Trek Picard Season 3 Episode 2. As such, you have been warned, turn away now if you don't want spoilers. I'm waiting. If you're still here, then I presume you want spoilers. Okay, let's go. Welcome to Trek Central. I'm your host, Captain Jack. Right, get commenting while you're watching this review. I want to know your best moment from this episode, or on the flip side, your worst moment. Go comment. No, really, go. Come on. Anyway, hit that subscribe button on your way to the comment section, and if you feel like it, that like button as well. Don't forget that this weekend, and every weekend, on Sunday at 9 PM GMT, we'll be live on YouTube talking about Picard Season 3 with some special guests. Make sure to tune in, there'll be a reminder on the YouTube channel this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you there. As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Trek, then we want to hear about it. Okay, with that out of the way, let's do the usual. Engage. Episode 1 started with Beverly Crusher. Well, Episode 2 starts with Jack Crusher. Yes, we very quickly get the name of Beverly's son after the cliffhanger of the last episode. Late in this episode, spoiler alert, we come to find that this is Picard and Beverly's son, so naming him after the late Jack Crusher is very sweet. Jack Crusher wasn't just Beverly's former husband, but also Picard's best friend. They both loved him in different ways, so to name their son that, even if it was only Beverly who did so, works for them both, I guess. The opening scene is a flashback and takes place 2 weeks before the main events of Season 3. There is some very interesting stuff in here. We really get to see Jack Crusher's character. He is taking the Helios to a planet affected by Galarian fever, and as a doctor is willing to bribe people or do whatever to ensure the safety of those he deems his patients. Something he probably learned from Beverly. Some Fenris Rangers try to stop the Helios, but are bribed by a creative weapons to let them through. How Season 3 is weaving in elements from previous seasons only goes to retroactively make those elements much stronger. We have Fenris Rangers here, and they are mentioned numerous times throughout this episode as well. Something from Season 2, which is enhanced for Mariposas. Last episode, many eagle-eyed viewers spotted the butterfly symbol around the SS Helios, and now we know why. Beverly and Jack are seemingly heading the Mariposa movement in the 25th century. For those who might not remember, the Mariposa medical movement was what Cristobal Rios and Teresa from Season 2 founded. After Rios decided to stay in the 21st century, and deprived us from the Captain Rios Stargazer show, they established a medical movement named after Teresa's clinic that went to help people and would endure into the 25th century as we see here. We learn that Jack Crusher is a wanted man, but we find he does these things for the right reasons. He provides medical support in war-torn lands. He steals to get medical supplies for his patients. Ultimately, he may be a thief, but he's a thief with a heart of gold. Last week ended with the dangerous-looking strike looming over the Essos Helios. We finally met his captain this week, the very interesting Captain Varic. From her first appearance, she's amazing. She acts so creepily in how she speaks and what she speaks as well. She knows way too much just to be a simple bounty hunter after Jack Crusher, like she claims to be. She knows Captain Liam Shaw. She has read his psych evaluation and asked if he is functional right now, which probably hints at Shaw's backstory we're probably going to learn in future episodes. She knows Picard, but who in the Star Trek galaxy doesn't at this point? Well, apart from Matt Ensign in Season 1. She knows that Picard has a synthetic body right now as well. She is just so fascinating as a villain, and I so adore that we'll be getting more of her throughout this season. From this episode alone, she cements herself as a great villain. Almost. She allows for her ship to be scanned by the Titan for weapons, and the list of armaments on her ship is wild. Isolating warheads, plasma torpedoes, so many photon torpedoes, and probably the quantum tunneling tech stolen from Daystrom. No speech of how clocks have not had gears in a while, but you can still hear the ticking of seconds as we allot time to hand over Jack Crusher is so well performed. Making sure they know the name of the ship, the Shrike, named after a carrion bird from Earth just to hit home the threat of who the Titan is dealing with, is awesome. She giggles, she laughs, and she speaks in so much weird tones that you cannot be scared of what she is capable of. Amanda Plummer really sells Varic as a villain. I look forward to seeing more from her in the upcoming episodes. The end of the second episode really teases that the game of cat and mouse is about to begin. While the next episode may be titled 17 Seconds, it might be better to title it The Wrath of Varic. Just a thought as the Titan escapes into the nebula from its foe. However, I feel like her introduction episode could have been better. Perhaps if this episode had another 10 minutes and therefore we saw her deal some more damage to the Titan, that would have heightened the odds for me. While yes, throwing the Essos Ilios into the Titan is a cool scene, we didn't really see it do much damage. Sure, there is a lineup at Deck 11, but we don't see fire and smoke. Maybe this is to save the effects budget for next week's episode. Still, just something that stuck out for me. Part of this episode returns us to Rafi, who, as we saw last week, failed to prevent a terrorist attack on a Starfleet building by someone using the quantum tunneling tech stolen from Daystrom. It is odd that the building attacked was a Starfleet recruitment building, but I'm sure the reasoning for this attack will be made apparent later on in the story. Now interestingly, Starfleet has terminated the investigation for the quantum tunneling tech stolen. They now believe the weapon was used by a Romulan warlord. But is this just a cover story? Knowing that in trailers we see Starfleet fighting against our heroes, it seems like there's something going on at Starfleet Command. We have detailed some theories about this in other videos if you are interested, so check on them. What is great about Rafi's subplot is how very much it links into season 1 of Picard, and in a way enhances Rafi from that season. We know in season 1 that Rafi lost her husband and son due to the conspiracy spiraling into substance abuse. In this episode, we meet this very same ex-husband, Jay. Now what is cool for his name is it was first mentioned in the Picard tie-in book, Second Self, last year. And he was a painter, so I love getting some of that connectivity from books to media. We also find out that both Jay and Gabe, her son, are on Matala's Prime. Rafi has tried to get back in touch with Gabe to meet her granddaughter, just like what we see in season 1 on Freecloud. I do have to question why Jay and Gabe decide to be in these bad places. I mean, Matala's Prime and Freecloud aren't exactly free real estate. Well, probably are, but you know what I mean. And with the introduction of Jay, we get a very interesting conflict with Rafi, which mirrors her backstory from the first season. She is given a choice of her son or the conspiracy by Jay. Who can get there in contact with Sneed, the Ferengi broker? Obviously it's a bit of a complicated matter. She chooses Sneed because she knows how important stopping this conspiracy is, just like in the first season. Ultimately, Rafi is placed in terrible situations and always chooses the greater good, even at great cost to her personal life. Actually, showing that in this episode, rather than through exposition like in season 1, makes it much stronger, and as I mentioned to me, season 1 Rafi, it makes her stronger as well. As we suspected from last week, Rafi's secret handler is Worf. Worf makes his triumphant return to rescue Rafi from a Ferengi broker, and also murders a bunch of guards even with the Ferengi. We were told that Worf is more pacifist now, but you definitely can't tell here. I guess he prefers not to attack people, but to defend his operative, he's kind of forced to attack. Maybe not kill, but at least attack. I will question Worf killing the Ferengi. Sneed would have been a good source of information, knowing about the stolen tech, and perhaps should have been apprehended instead of decapitated. But this is Worf, shoot first, ask questions later. Shoot questions, that's probably a Worf style as well. While Worf's entrance was cool, much like Varic, I felt like it was somewhat underused. Yes, we've had this setup, and he just wanders off. Naturally, the story continues, but this is the downside of this whole 10-hour movie format. It means things like this feel a little odd sometimes until you get to the next episode. At the end of the episode, Beverly is finally up and walking, and we get this absolutely beautiful scene from how Beverly and Picard look at each other on the bridge. They have this conversation without saying anything. Beverly admits to Picard that Jack Crusher is his son, just from how they look at one another, and that was awesome to see, and also the soundtrack with this as well, beautiful. Obviously, not knowing that Jack is the son of Admiral Picard, Shaw agrees with Picard not to hand him over to Varic. In both this episode and in the previous one, we've come to think of Shaw as a bad person. But slowly, over this episode, we learn his priorities are the safety of his crew. He's willing to defend Admiral Picard's son, and there was a nice moment between Shaw and Picard where Picard touches his shoulder as a thank you. This episode was written by Kristen Monfetti and Sean Tretter, and like the last episode, was also directed by Doug Aronofsky. The title Disengage is very interesting, as with a good episode title, it has multiple meanings for the different facets of this episode. Rafi is told to disengage from investigation, but Titan A tries to disengage from a strike, and this isn't even a discussion of all the disengaged relations in this episode. Rafi and Jay, Picard and Beverly, there are multiple layers here. Riker this episode, just like the last episode, is truly amazing. I do think some of this is Frakes' best work as Riker. His little comments to Jean-Luc in the Turbolift like, do the math Jean-Luc, about thinking Jack is Picard's son. The speech of handing Jack over to his Shrike, that man is wanted for trial, not execution, and we'll damn well know that's not a ship, it's a guillotine. It's so amazing, it's expertly delivered by Frakes, and it's outstanding. The musical score in this episode felt somewhat weird. Some of the musical themes landed perfectly, while others felt flat at certain points. An example of this is Worf's introduction scene. It feels like the music is trying to play the classic Klingon theme from Star Trek the Motion Picture, yet the audio sounds somewhat flat and off. Perhaps this is just a different tone of the iconic track, but still, it was a little odd. However, on the flip side of this, we have music that lands perfectly. The track that plays during Beverly and Jean-Luc's meeting on the bridge is perfect, even if it does give me a somewhat Star Wars feel to the moment. I've also got to commend the use of the mixtapes at the start of the episode. While the episode 1 was very much Beverly's choice of music, the second episode was Jack's style of music. The episode time also looks quite over-contrasted, giving it looks very weird at certain times. It's different from last week's episode, which I wonder if it was a reaction to people saying last week was too dark. Still, bumping up the contrast isn't a way to solve this. The acting in this episode is absolutely phenomenal. From Sir Patrick Stewart in his scenes of Ed Speleer in the brig was amazing, and as I said, anything Frakes did was just great. Now Gates McFadden as Beverly, just stealing the scene without even talking, just looks was awesome. Even Todd Stashwick, who is very much giving reason to his performance of the captain's previous actions, is helping to craft this new character into someone three-dimensional and able to stand against these other characters who are so well established over the last 30 years almost. Overall, this was a strong enough episode and also set up multiple interesting things for the future episodes. We have some fascinating characters and interactions between the two, a ship hunt within a nebula, and a return of everyone's favourite merry man.
I protest, I am not a merry man!
Obviously, not a perfect episode, they can rarely be, but enough to be fascinating and keep me engaged, despite the episode title being called Disengage. So, what do you think of Star Trek Picard Season 3 Episode 2? If you want to keep up to date on all the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, make sure to hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from the team here at Trek Central. You can also follow us on social media or join our community Discord server. But for now, I have been Captain Jack, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you throughout the week with brand new Picard Season 3 content. Live long and prosper, my friends. Goodbye.